Not bad. Today we're going to work on something very simple. Hey everybody, welcome back to Golf Test Dummy, the channel where I use my game to try and help your game. And today we're going to try out a tip that I've seen on quite a few golf channels, but the one in particular that I'm going to name is from Eric Cogorno Golf. I'm sure you've seen him on YouTube. He's got quite a few followers. He's worked with quite a few teachers as well on his YouTube channel, trying to bring in some other philosophies and see things from their point of view. He's got a really great channel. You should go check him out if you haven't already. The tip is one that I think he's done in short format, but he's also done a longer, more explained video, a regular format video on YouTube, and we're going to go through it right now. Guys, real quick before we get started, I just want to mention that if you'll click the little arrow over here to your right to drop down the description box, you'll see buyingatgloves.com, shop indoor golf, you'll see amazon.com links, all kinds of different ways for you to A, support the channel, and B, save yourself some money in the process. Don't forget about those. And also, you may not have seen this yet. On certain channels it's available, not on every one. You have to be eligible, but there is a super thanks button down below. It's kind of off to the right of where you can click thumbs up or possibly thumbs down, but there's a super thanks button over there, and essentially it's a tip jar. It's a way to leave a small donation to this channel just as a way to say thanks. I appreciated the video, I liked it, it helped me out. Maybe you knocked a couple strokes off your game, maybe you just feel sorry for me and you want to throw me some cash because I suck at golf. But anyway, the button's there for you if you want to use it, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much in advance. Back to the tip. All right, as I mentioned, Eric Cogorno Golf, his channel, He gives a lot of tips on there, but one of the tips that has really been kind of running around in my mind lately and has helped me out tremendously, I've been making some really good strides out here in my practice and play, and it's translated onto the course as well. But one of the tips he talks about is to basically hold the club out in front of you. I'll show you from the side and I'll show you from the front, but you take your grip and you hold the club out in front of you. And essentially you just want to swing it around your shoulders so that you come into this position here. I'll show you from the side. You're going to swing around this way, and then you're going to try and drop down on another plane and swing underneath the path that you just swung back on. So you're going to bring it around your shoulder, and then you're just going to try and swing underneath it back around to the other side. It's a really simple thought, and it's a very easy move because it's up here above the ball. It's at eye level, it's at shoulder level while you're standing straight up and down. Not to put words in Eric's mouth, but I believe that one of the reasons that he has you do incremental step downs is because it's super simple to do it up here. But once you get bent over and you're at the golf ball, to go from here to all the way down there, that can be a difficult and sort of confusing thing to translate over. So that's why he has you start here, make that swing, and go underneath while you're at eye level. Then the next time you kind of drop down to where you're maybe in your stomach or your chest region, and you make the same type motion there. You bring it down to where the club is maybe at knee height, and you're going to make that same sort of move there. And then finally, you'll be at the golf ball. I believe he may even add one more increment right above the golf ball. But the point, I believe, of that whole exercise is to take something that is very simple up here, very complex down here, and work you into it gradually over time so that it can translate properly and you can get the sequence and the movement and the feels down. All right, so one thing I noticed is that if I take it around my shoulder and I want to bring it underneath, I have to drop this shoulder down, which also in turn kind of moves this hip a little bit out toward the target. So when I come down, it's almost like this front knee flexes and goes toward the target, and then I rotate around. So we're going to try a few shots here. I've got an 8-iron in hand. We're just going to try and make some little swings here. Tiny little baby draw, fairly decent strike. Going to go up to about 150. Did not feel the total transition at that point, so I'm really going to try and feel like I exaggerate that a little bit since I've got such a chronic problem with it. Again, another baby draw. Felt like a slight toe strike. Going to carry out past 150, stayed out a little bit to the right. but overall pretty good and a consistent ball flight, total of 160. Gonna hit a couple more shots here, and again, I want to kind of feel that I take it back and then really drop down underneath and release toward the target. Baby draw, high ball flight, struck fairly well. Gonna carry out to 150. Maybe go a little bit past that. Yeah, about 151 total, 147 carry. I feel like I got more in the tank with this. Let's see. Baby draw down the line. Just super consistent ball flights here. Carried out past 150. Don't know what that'll get to, but it's a pretty reliable draw for me. 160 yards, carry of 155. Not too bad. So you can see from a few of those, the ball flight is pretty consistent. It's either really pretty straight with just the tiniest little draw, or it tends to have just a little bit more of a draw on it. But it's never really more than, say, a 3-yard draw. The main thing that happens, I find, like I said, when I change from here and I want to come underneath it, see how my hip kind of goes forward? My front hip goes forward, my right shoulder drops down and comes underneath, and I release out toward the target. Let's hit a couple more and then I'll wrap this whole thing up. Start out up here and then under it, and then under it. A little thin, but still a draw, still toward the center line. You can see I get a little bit shorter distance there because the contact was not as great. There is, you have to get used to it, that's for sure. All right, let's try it one more time. Bend over and take it away level. Oh my goodness, that was smashed. I pulled it just a little bit, but that was very well struck. The sound was much different. The impact was much different. Yeah, that's carrying 161, carrying out and rolling total 165 and a half. Let's see if I can get that to be straight. Oh my goodness. So well struck. Baby draw, down the line. High ball flight. Very consistent. Let's see what the distance is on this one. I've got a carry of 157, a total distance of 161 and a half. Now, one of the big reasons that I keyed onto this particular drill and why I thought it could help me and that I tried it out is because normally for me, if you guys have ever watched me down the line, you know that my backswing comes in a little flat and underneath the plane like this. I lift it and then I kind of come with this right shoulder and over the top. That may be because I don't know, there's something wrong with the positions and my feels in my brain. It could very well be that I'm really just trying to put in too much effort and I'm getting after it with the right shoulder. But for whatever reason, I felt like, okay, if I make a conscious effort to bring it back flat around my shoulder and then try and drop down underneath that plane a little bit, that might help me out. So I started trying it really slow at first, and then I worked my way into it. And I went through the progressions in order to be able to, like I said, translate over from something very simple to something that's much more complicated down at the golf ball. It does a couple of things, okay? Number one, at least you're trying. Even if you're not succeeding, like I'm chronically under the plane on my takeaway, I'm taking it away laid off. Even if that's not changing, but just a small fraction, at least my feel is that I'm taking it back on a much better plane. So at least I'm working toward that end. And like I always say on this channel, it's progress, not perfection. I'm not worried about being perfect, but I want to be better than I was yesterday. So I'm at least trying and then probably making some sort of baby steps toward taking it back on a much better plane. And then the second thing is in the transition. In the transitional period, when you're taking it back here, instead of just instantly coming back and getting that right shoulder engaged, you have to make a transition down to another plane and then start to swing through. So it gives you that little bit of pause at the top, which I've talked about before has helped me tremendously in the past, but it allows for a much better transition, a smoother transition, one that starts a lot more correctly than it used to be. And again, even if you don't see huge improvements on video in the beginning, if you stick with something like this for say 30 days, at the end of it, I think you're going to see a vast difference between where you are at the end of 30 days and where you started. The third thing this does that really kind of surprised me because I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just something I noticed after doing the drill for a while, but it really gets your lower body working correctly. When you turn back and you load, it makes you almost have to make this bump forward toward the target with this lead hip, and your spine starts to tilt away from the target a little bit and then turn. So in that transition, you come back like this, and then you bump, and your spine kind of tilts away from target a little bit, and then you start to turn through. It gives you a much better lower body sequence because the lower body has to move in order to support what it is you're trying to do with the upper body. See, if I'm going to try and get under this plane and I'm going to swing down below it, I've got to get this way, and then this adds a little bit more side bend and tilt, and then I rotate around underneath that. So I did not expect that. I think that that is huge. This drill it does so many things for your golf swing. It fixes so many problems and errors and sequencing issues with just one simple task. Guys, give this one a shot. Go give Eric Cogorno some love for this drill. If you don't subscribe to his channel, subscribe to it. Go watch some of his videos. He does some really excellent stuff. Tell him Golf Test Dummy sent you, and I'll see you in the next video.